Taylor, two-time PGA Tour winner. He's going to be joining us in just a second. Hopefully we're going to talk about his wins, about his career, about everything going on in his life of golf and being at home now with everything that we have going on with the coronavirus situation. And just kind of catch up and get to know him a little bit better, get to know his story a little bit more. Before we dive into the interview, I do want to say thanks to our sponsor here at 18 Strong, Linksole. Linksole has been providing us and all of our golfers in the 18 Strong community with some of the best apparel around. You can go to 18strong.com/Linksole to get 20% off of anything that they sell, anything in your cart. And I also want to let you know that we're doing a giveaway this week and in all the weeks up and coming of free Linksole apparel. So this week we're giving away a pair of their insanely popular Boardwalker shorts. They're the shorts that I wear almost every day when the sun's shining, and I'm wearing them in the gym, wearing them on the course. But to get your entry in, just go to the 18 Strong podcast on iTunes and submit a rating and a review, and every week we pick a winner and we read it on the air. We'll be announcing that next Wednesday live on the broadcast. All right, let's bring in our special guest, Nick Taylor. Nick, thank you for joining us today, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a couple of your buddies on in the last couple of weeks, Adam Long, Scott Harrington, had some guys from the PGA Tour. And I'm just curious, first of all, with everything kind of shut down, how have you been spending most of your days? Do you have a regular routine, or are you kind of laying low a little bit?
Kind of, I guess. My wife and I, we had a little baby boy in October, so we have a 5.5-month-old. So our schedule is really wrapped around him right now. He's kind of on a 2-hour cycle of sleep and nap, so he's been good that way, and then sleeping at night. So that keeps us somewhat in a routine because of him. But golf-wise, I haven't been doing a whole lot. I've gone to the course just once. They're open here in Arizona, but I've gone once. I have a hitting net in my backyard, so I'll go out there maybe every night and hit 20 shots maybe. A putting mat, I haven't been doing a whole lot. So golf-wise, I haven't been doing a whole lot, but we're definitely in a routine mostly because of our son.
What's the little guy's name?
Charlie,
I love it. How has this has probably been almost a little bit of a welcome break then, having the little guy at home, being able to spend that much time. Has it been kind of a blessing in disguise a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's our little silver lining for our situation. I think, whenever you get time to spend at home with your family, with our jobs, being on the road so much, that's something we can't take for granted. But I wish it was in a different situation. But no, that's been the small bonus for us to be able to spend time, and especially for me being able to be so involved.
Obviously, you're probably lacking a little bit of sleep here and there with the little guy waking up in the middle of the night and everything. What are you doing to keep your body fresh and healthy? Do you have kind of a movement routine or exercise routine you're sticking to, or are you kind of holding off a little bit?
I guess I haven't had a whole routine. I've had some workouts. I've mixed in some 15-minute yoga here or there. Some movements that I would say typically do for a warm-up at a tournament or before I'm going to play some golf. So I've mixed it around. It hasn't been as daily as I should, but it's been a little bit. But I'll definitely need to wrap it up in the next few weeks. It is tougher though with lack of sleep with our son. So, but yeah, I'll start doing that a little more, especially once we kind of get a target date of when we're going to come back to play golf.
Have you guys gotten any more word on kind of a possible start date? What tournament might be the first one, maybe even without fans and stuff like that? Anything new?
It looks like mid-June is what they're hoping for. Colonial is the first date in Fort Worth. So, we'll see. Obviously, so much has changed and so much can change daily, let alone in a couple months. But they're hoping for that. I think no fans is definitely the start for that. And I'm for the foreseeable future, so I can't see that changing much. But I think with logistically so many players flying in from all over the country, even out of country, that's definitely a challenge. So I'll be curious to see kind of what happens from there.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on guys having to fly in from different places? Do you think that will even kind of limit the amount of people that will be in those events? And do you think that will maybe even open it up to get some guys that maybe wouldn't get starts into some of those events?
Yeah, I think to me, it'd be a challenge if players can't, are coming from out of country and they can't play. It'd be tough to restart the tour if it's kind of an unfair advantage to those guys if they've gone home to family or for whatever the case may be. So, um, and I think you need to give them enough time to be able to get back and at least practice a little bit. Or I'm sure there's some sort of quarantine, self quarantine going on if you're coming back from out of country. So there's a lot of variables that I'm happy I don't have to decide and figure out what we need to do because it's going to be very challenging. And when everyone gets to the tournament, what's the protocol when that happens? I'm sure there's going to have to be testing involved. We have some sort of control of where we're staying or how we're traveling together because if people start going out different places, you never know. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So we'll see.
I think everybody's been talking so much about what's going on currently and all the situations and kind of speculating, when are tournaments starting, what's going to happen with the tour. But I want to kind of backtrack on you a little bit for maybe people that don't know your history and kind of your background in golf. Where did you grow up, and did you start playing golf at a super young age? I know you had a very, very illustrious amateur career, but when did you really know that you were going to be playing some serious golf?
I started playing when I was 10-ish, 10, 11 years old. I played other sports growing up. So for today's standards, I'd say that's a late bloomer. But when I started playing, that was definitely the norm, 10, 11 years old. So, and then I would say I was, for being competitive and having success in junior golf, I might have been a bit of a late bloomer. I'm probably 16 years old where I started playing some good golf, winning some local tournaments. Nobody really gets recruited up in Canada. It's kind of a shame. And I was lucky where Matt Thurmond, who was the coach at University of Washington, was a bit of a Canadian pipeline there. So he came up. James Lepp had come there and played a couple years, and we actually grew up in the same golf course. So we were lucky to have that connection. Darren Wallace was another Canadian from Langley. It's about 30 minutes from Abbotsford. He had won the Canadian Amateur at 15, so got a lot of coverage for that, and he actually committed to University of Washington. So we were friends. We had the same coach, and Matt Thurman had come up, and so I was lucky enough to be able to commit to there. I really didn't have any other recruiting, and then even in college, my first year especially, I was in and out of the lineup, struggling to kind of find my game, probably my footing, like a lot of people do when they get to college. And then near the end of the year, I played well at NCAA Nationals. We kind of squeaked into regionals and we were hosting, which was a huge advantage. And we finished, I think, seventh. Then it was like 12 or 15 teams moved on. And from there, I finished individually, and then I finished second at finals, and our team finished seventh. It was a great kind of finish to the year, and that kind of, I think, pushed me to bigger and better things. Ended up winning the Canadian Amateur. It wasn't that summer; it was the previous summer, but obviously those kind of high finishes in big tournaments gave me a lot of confidence and kind of propelled me to some great things in my third year at school. So I would say it always took me a couple of years to kind of feel comfortable and get going, but once I have, I guess I've had some success. That's been nice.
What did your transition over into pro golf look like, coming from college, going into like web.com and even before web.com, and then obviously into the PGA Tour?
I'd waited through summer to turn pro, so I didn't really get any PGA starts that fall. I did Q school. I missed the first stage, so I had a bunch of lag time there, and ended up getting some exemptions in the Canadian Tour. At the time, it was the Canadian Tour, so I'd kept my card. There's maybe 8 or 9 events, so I kept my card through that. Then went to Q school in the fall. Missed again at first stage, I think by a shot or two. And then the Canadian Tour again. It was still the Canadian Tour the next year. Improved, maybe finished 10th or 11th on the money list there, and then got through first stage, but missed the second stage, and that was when the PGA Tour had decided to buy the Canadian Tour. So I think that really helped me kind of get my energy up of missing at Q school, knowing that there was another route of getting and moving up in status, and worked really hard that year. Played really well, kind of on the mini tour type stuff. There's a Vancouver Golf Tour that is in Vancouver, Abbotsford, kind of lower mainland there, and played for a month and a half before leading into the Canadian Tour and won a handful of times. Really kind of got some confidence going for for around there, and then played well on the PGA Tour Canada and finished 7th on the my list there. So that got me into final stage and got my web card through there. So I played up in Canada for 3 years. Played on the web tour, got off to a pretty good start. Middle of the year, missed a bunch of cuts. I finished off the year nicely and got my card actually through the web finals at the time. Now it's Corn Ferry Tour at the time, and then won my 4th event when I got my PGA Tour card. So it was a crazy year that year because we got married that earlier in that year. It's funny how it's happened with a few of the Canadian guys. Like Mackenzie, he was very similar kind of sequence where he got married in the same year, got his PGA Tour card that year, and won that year.
No way.
I did the same thing. But yeah, it was a lot of life changes in 1 year, and everything kind of came together. So it was all great stuff, obviously, but a lot of stuff all at once.
And so that was the Sanderson Farms event, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you just won, obviously, Pebble Beach here in February 2020. What would you say was the biggest difference between winning at Sanderson Farms and your win at Pebble Beach, or a couple of the biggest things?
I think as a player, I've improved kind of everywhere in my game. I think the experience of being on the PGA Tour, this is my 6th season. That was a huge part of it. For a couple years there, my 4th and 5th year, I was kind of battling for my card, especially my 4th year, which I think, it's not where you want to be, but there's still a lot of experience you can take from that. I had to play a great tournament at Wyndham my 4th year, the final regular season event, to keep my card. And last year, I felt comfortable a lot of the year. I was inside the top 125, but still having to play well and kind of battling that whole time. So I think, you're not in contention, but when you're battling to keep your card, it's a different type of nerves. So I think that definitely helps you when you're competing to win a golf tournament. So again, I think my game felt better and better. The results they were kind of lagging behind. And I think in this fall, I was in contention a couple of times. And that led to that. So I think, to answer your question, I think my game was just better and better, and different experience, maybe not just through being in the hunt and trying to win a golf tournament, but that really kind of built up to being prepared for that moment.
Can you take us back to Pebble Beach a little bit? First of all, that's the ProAm. So who did you play with in the ProAm?
My partner was Jerry Tardy. He's the editor-in-chief at Golf Digest. So he's the calmest. He's such a good partner. He's a really good player, actually. He doesn't hit it that far, but he hits it around the greens. Phenomenal hands. And so he's just a really fun partner to be on. He was always in every hole. I felt like we had really similar demeanors, and that was a great pairing. So it was a lot of fun.
How did they pick the pairings? Do you get to pick who you play with, or is that set up through some other entity?
I've had different partners every year. So I think I'm assuming, say, a celebrity wants to play with you, they can pick you. I think there's a pairings party. So I think there's a handful of guys that probably have their set partner that they played with. But I kind of like that I've had different partners every year. I think it's fun to meet new people, especially for that event. I'm hoping I play with Jerry next year, but we'll see.
Nice. How did he fare as far as scoring and everything? How did you guys do as a team?
Yeah, we ended up finishing 2nd as a team. Larry Fitzgerald and Kevin Stroman won, but they're a dynamic duo, so they're a tough team to catch. But yeah, we did great.
So take us to that week. I know it was a brutal week as far as like wind and just conditions and stuff, it sounded like. But I mean, you were wire to wire on Saturday night going into Sunday, knowing that you've had the lead for 3 nights now. What was your mentality going to bed, and then what was your mentality getting onto the first tee box?
Yeah, I hadn't been in that situation of having an outright lead going to Sunday. I was close to lead before, but having an outright lead, being the final group, that was my first time handling that. I think being only a one-shot lead, you see it on tour all the time. One-shot lead really means nothing. You can be gone in the first shot, let alone the first hole. So I knew we had a bit of a cushion on the rest of the field, so I knew I just had to kind of do my own thing. Throughout the week, I think being 3 different golf courses helped manage having that lead, because it was a new game plan every day almost for the golf course. So I think I was the most nervous. Obviously Sunday means the most, but I was the most nervous going into Sunday. I wouldn't say I slept very good, but I had the similar routine, and and got there. So luckily, Pebble is a pretty easy start, as in, it's an iron off the first hole. Um, the tee shot and two, it's a pretty wide fairway. I think really it's until the fifth hole I found is a shot you need to pull off the par three. And I knew there's certain shots and that I need to really pick good targets, focus on, commit to them. And the first 9 or 10 holes, I definitely pulled up all the shots I needed to and made some really good putts. So it was huge as well that Phil and I got off to a great start. We're both 3 and 4 under through six, and we really kind of separated ourselves from third. So it was more of a match play scenario. And I think that really helped me kind of stay on our hole, stay in the moment, and didn't have to worry about anybody else.
Yeah, but you had Phil Mickelson with you, kind of the king of Pebble Beach there, and you're playing him in a match. What was the mentality of that, or what? Any thoughts going through your head about like, this is a showdown between me and Phil. This is kind of his territory almost, as many would think. And here you are, taking it from first tee to the 18th green and holding the championship trophy at the end.
Yeah, I think it almost helps you focus knowing, because you expect great things out of him. There's no underestimating what Phil Mickelson can do. And I think, again, that helped kind of me at least stay in my world. I didn't want to have to see the shots he was trying to hit, especially on the greens. Doesn't matter. I felt like wherever he got out on the greens, I expected him to either hole it or get up and down. And that was kind of evident on 13. He hit it way over the green, a grandstand. It was super flop. Made this putt of the fringe where I had about 10 feet for birdie, and I ended up missing it. So we had the hole, but it was like before he hit that long putt, I was kind of like, well, it's Phil Mickelson. He's kind of going to make this, and he did. So I think having that mentality, I wasn't surprised by anything, and kind of helped me stay in my world, because that's all you can do in those moments is worry about what you're doing.
Is Pebble Beach a course that suits your style of play?
I think it does. It's not an overly long golf course. I'm pretty average on tour for length. So I don't think length is a huge advantage there. I've always loved the golf course in general. It's Pebble Beach. I love Spyglass in Monterey as well. So it's one of my favorite tournaments. And if the weather cooperates, it's, you can't beat it. And it was good that week. The weather was as ideal as it could have been. It was a little chilly. And then Sunday, the wind picked up quite a bit, which made it very difficult. But it's always been one of my favorites.
What would you say? How would you describe yourself as a golfer? Like, what are some of your strengths? What are some of the things that maybe you tend to work more on, as far as things that you feel like you need to maybe pick up a little bit or get a little better at?
I would say the strengths of my game would be, off the tee. I feel like I hit a lot of fairways, keeping it play. Again, not overly long at all, but definitely if I'm on a hole, it's between 3-wood and driver. I'm probably in a driver every time. So I feel confidence in that club, and I like to get up there as far as I can. And then around the greens, on the greens, I would say is a strength. I feel like more and more stats have come out where iron play is such a huge thing on tour, of strokes gained, approach, and that's something I can always improve on. My best years when I've looked at stats have been that those were my best years, iron play, and I think I could be just a little more consistent with that, clean that up, probably from like the 125 to 175 range.
Are you a big stats guy? Like, do you look at a lot of your numbers on a regular basis?
I'm aware of it. I wouldn't say I'm a huge stats guy, but I'm aware of the stats I have. I've worked with Scott Fawcett with strategy and certain stats. I like guys like that to be able to look at your game and see if there's holes. So like, this is where I see that you need improvement. And I think that's a huge advantage now with stats, because, I think everyone's using it. So I feel like if you're not aware of it, you're probably losing a little bit of ground. Some guys, don't want to know, but I feel like the overwhelming consensus is to kind of be aware of it and try to find the holes where you can improve.
What does your practice, not schedule, look like, but what do you like to do when you're going out to practice? Are you more of a range rat guy? Are you more of a go out and play and kind of feel it out a little bit, or do you mix it up?
I'd say mix it up. I love playing. I practice more probably when I'm down here in Scottsdale. My wife and I are both from Abbotsford, so we go up there in the summers, and I play a lot when I'm back there. But when I'm here, yeah, I'll probably do a typical day. I would say I'd like to do at least an hour on each phase of the game, which would be chipping, bunker play, kind of pitching around the greens, a good hour on the range, probably a good hour putting, and then go play later in the day. If not a little more time on each, but that's definitely kind of equal spread it out. So that would be kind of routine. I'd love to play I love playing at night. It's kind of peaceful and quiet when you go out there and no one's really out there. But I like staying sharp as well, playing games with other pros and friends. So I definitely mix it up. I could spend 4 hours in the range for sure, but I could also play 36 a day and not worry about practicing at all. So I feel like I mix it up pretty well.
Who do you tend to play most with? Any of the pros that we would recognize, maybe?
Yeah, I played Joel Damon, Brandon Harkins, Riley Wheeldon. He's on PGA Tour Canada right now, and quite a few guys here playing in Scottsdale. So I play with those guys. I play college golf with Joel, so if we go way back, and Brandon Harkins, our wives are pretty close, and we play quite a bit together. So we have a pretty good group here.
Out on tour, playing just in regular events, who's one of the guys that you've enjoyed playing the most with that maybe you don't get a chance to play with very often in Scottsdale, but if you see your name on the tee sheet with him, you're like, yeah, that's going to be a good round. That's going to be an entertaining round.
There's quite a few guys that you don't get to play with that much, honestly. Like, it's amazing. There's 30 guys in your category on tour. That's kind of where you can be paired with. You might be paired with one guy like once a year. It's kind of I would say Joel though is one of them. I know I play with him here, but he's just a character. Like he really gives off the vibe he doesn't care, and I know he does care, but he has a great mentality. Him and his caddy Gino are awesome. I think we've only been paired together maybe once on tour. Matt Jones is awesome to play with. I got paired with him a decent amount, but he's so quick and he's such a great short game. It's fun to watch a lot of his shots that he hits. But yeah, those are a couple guys that are fun to play with.
What event are you most disappointed that hasn't happened this year that you were excited to play in, excited to go to, experience that hasn't yet come to fruition?
It'd be tough just to not say the Masters. That was gonna be my first time playing that event. That's a tournament. I think anybody looking to play pro golf, going into it, watching golf, that is kind of the mecca of our sport. And to be able to go there for the first time and it kind of be in my grasp, and now being kind of pushed back, that was one I was definitely looking forward to. Another one is the Canadian Open. I just got word it's going to be canceled for this year. I think with winning this year, there's a lot of hype with Canadians. I think 8 Canadians on tour this year. It would be really fun to go back, and Royal St. George is such a great golf course. It's going to be downtown Toronto. So we'll have to wait for a year for that, but those are the two that I was really looking forward to for the rest of this year.
What's it like playing in the Canadian Open for you? I'm sure you have so many fans up there rooting for you. It's got to feel like a hometown event.
It does, yeah. Last year I was paired with David Hearn and Mike Weir the first couple of days, and the atmosphere at Hamilton Golf and Country Club was incredible. Up 18, there's kind of an amphitheater around the green, and the first couple of days I played well. We finished on 18 on Friday, and I had birdie to maybe get to 10 under or something, but in the top 5. And the roar there, and Mike Weir made a couple putts coming in, and it was really, really fun. So I think that was definitely a building block forward for that event, and I was really looking forward to this year. But again, it's only delayed a year, so we'll have our time to go there. But it's an amazing event for Canadians because it only happens once a year. They're able to give a few more exemptions to Canadian players that aren't on tour quite yet. So there's such a good feel of Canadian players out there. The fans are awesome. So it's a fun event.
Anytime we have a tour player on the show, I think it's cool to talk about just kind of some of the behind the scenes. I know people love to hear stories of you guys and kind of get a little bit of a glimpse into your life. And I think there's some common misconceptions about what tour life can be like. Everybody kind of assumes you guys are flying on private jets all the time and things like that. Do you have any terrible travel experiences in recent years that you could share with us?
The one that comes to mind, so there's usually the Asian swing in the fall of every year. And so a couple years ago, I was in the Malaysia event. It's a limited field, both of them, and there's 78 players. And the next event was in South Korea, and it was the first time that event was happening. And so more guys were going to that event, so I was right on the bubble of getting in. So I found out the Saturday morning, I believe, of Malaysia that I was actually going to be in the Korean event. And so for whatever reason, they had a charter going there, but since we were late to get in the field, we couldn't get on the manifest, so we couldn't fly that way. So we had to fly commercially. So it was my caddy, Jeff, and then actually a physio with the tour, Jeff. So it's three of us, and we picked an airline that was going through Shanghai, China, connecting, going to Jeju Island. So ended up, we get on the plane. There wasn't much communication. Different world. We weren't really paying much attention. It was early in the morning too. I think it was like a 3 a.m. flight, something very strange. And we kind of fell asleep and didn't really pay attention. We were on the tarmac forever. Ended up flying there, so we were delayed 6 hours. We missed our connection. So we're in Shanghai. There was only one connection per day, which we didn't know, which was, in hindsight, very terrible planning. And so they're telling us that we're going to have to be there for like 3 days in China. And we're like, that's just not going to work. Like, we need to get out of here. And so we ended up they rebooked us to Incheon in Korea, which was the main capital there, but it was not Jeju. So we're like, just get us there, we'll figure it out. And so we're bouncing through custom lines in China, because we had to go through customs to get our bags to come back out. And the customs officers were not nice, to say the least. With the language barrier, we were just lost. So luckily, there was the three of us that could somehow work together and figure this out. But we ended up getting through. We made our connection. We got into Incheon, and there's two different airports there. There was an international airport, then a local airport. So we had to get on a train. We're running through the airport. We ended up booking a flight. We got down there, thank goodness. But it was a long 24 hours. So we ended up getting there. We were the only people that had to experience this, because everyone else was on the charter. It's a 5-hour flight. Everyone got in. So we were able to talk to tournament for a couple of days, but that was probably my worst international experience.
And how did that tournament end up going? Were you rattled?
I actually got off to a good start. I think I fizzled out in the end. I ended up finishing top 25, but it was I had a couple of days to recover, but it was just such a long day.
Man, that sounds brutal. What's another kind of misconception that people think when they think PGA Tour that you hear people talk about and you're like, no, that's not how it is at all?
I mean, like you said, flying private, it's for the majority of the tour. That's very rare. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's definitely rare. But I think, with how much we're on the road, there's definitely ways to justify it because of how much we travel going through airports, especially now with what's going on. That's something you want to avoid. There's not a lot of things that we can complain about. We have an amazing life and we make a great living. But I think when you're on the road and missing family, what people probably don't understand the most is, once my son starts getting older, they're going to start traveling less and less. And when I get to that age where they're in school and you're missing a lot of important events, that's definitely not fun. So that would be the hardest part, I think, would be the general consensus of everyone who's on tour, of missing family, missing important events. Not being able to see them as much as you want is definitely the hardest part. But outside of that, we have a great life. So
I know you've been on tour for quite a few years, and there's a lot of perks that you guys get, and I'm sure it's hard to remember a lot of the different things. But what's one of the tournament gifts that maybe kind of shocked you a little bit that was cool? Like you show up and it's in your locker, or however that works when you show up to a new tournament. What's one that stands out to you?
The Waste Management Phoenix Open the last couple of years has gone above and beyond. Last year they gave us a Traeger grill. I think we showed up in registration and they had a grill set up. And they're like, yeah, you get one of these, they send it to your house. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's
so
awesome.
Everyone's got a Traeger grill. This year they actually gave us a Theragun, which is kind of that massage gun.
Love that thing.
So they've gone above and beyond. It's always been amazing to me that we show up to tournaments and they're thanking us to be there and they're giving us, tea gifts, if you want to call it that. And, all of us, majority of people don't, I wouldn't say choose their schedule. It's if they can get in tournaments, they're going to play. And it's just always been, they're thanking us for being there. We're the ones like, thank you for hosting a tournament. Thank you for doing this. So it's kind of a mutual thing. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome. We've got a couple questions coming in off of Facebook here. Scott wants to know if you have a favorite golf course designer or architect.
That's a good question. Not one that comes to mind. I love Don Ross golf courses, but I wouldn't say I have one that's my favorite. I've always loved Pete Dye golf courses as well, but yeah, I wouldn't say I have a favorite, but those two come to mind. Would probably be my favorite courses that I've done well at as well.
Nice. We've got one coming from Joaquin. It says, first of all, happy belated birthday. Sounds like you had a birthday
Thank you.
recently.
Yeah.
What difference does it make for you possibly playing without fans in the upcoming tournaments?
Yeah, I think it'll be very different to start. I think for someone like me, where typically I may have 4 or 5 people watching me, it's not going to be much of a difference for me. But somebody had a point on TV last night. I forget where I was watching, but for kind of the big stars on tour, that's going to be a big difference because if you hit it in the rough or hit an area where it's trampled down, that's just not going to be the case anymore. I didn't really think about that. It'll be different, making putts and if you're especially close to lead, if you hear a roar here or there, those always get you fired up. And if that's not going to be happening, that'll be definitely something to get used to.
How do you think this whole situation is going to change golf in the future? And I'm not even just talking PGA Tour golf, but even just golf for kind of the rest of us, normal people. What do you think, or have you been hearing anything different that maybe even the PGA might be doing differently to maybe shake things up or get a little creative with the way that you guys manage, or they manage a tournament for you guys? Or just curious to hear what you think.
I think in the meantime, until there's really no risk, I think they'll have to change things up. I know the Outlaw Tour is a tour that's going on, and right now it's a one-shot penalty if you touch the pin, so you can't take the pin out, do any of that. They put styrofoam in the cups to avoid touching the pin, taking the ball out. There's no raking. So yeah, I think for right now, I think you have to be creative in ways to make it as safe as possible. Yeah, I don't know going forward. I don't know if the vaccine will be the answer. I'm assuming that'll help a lot of things, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see kind of if any changes for tour golf, because with caddies it's definitely different and being able to kind of control the environment. But yeah, we'll see. Things are going to be different, that's for sure.
What would you say has been the hardest part of this whole stay-at-home, self-isolation thing for you, either mentally, physically, any of it?
On the golf side, I would say not having or knowing a start date, I think has been tough for motivation to get out there and practice or work out and kind of have an end goal of what's going on, because with no, I would compare it similarly when I was doing Q school and you miss at first stage, you have such a long period essentially till next year's Q school to prepare for something. So that fall was always very difficult to be motivated, get up and try to work on the next tournament. I guess for personal life, tough not seeing family for sure. And having Charlie 5.5 months, it's my parents' first grandkid, my wife's, my in-laws, it's their third grandkid, but that's such a special time when they're young. So for them not to be able to be with him has definitely been difficult for them, but lots of FaceTime.
Yeah, for sure. Any major TV watching, binging, reading, things like that going on?
Quite a few binging. Like we finished Ozark pretty quickly, which was crazy ending of that one. A lot of shit. Yeah, we've watched a lot. I can't even. Netflix, we kind of mowed through. We didn't watch Tiger King yet. I feel like I'm delaying that because I can't see the interest in that one. But everyone says it's kind of a must watch just to see it. But yeah, we watched Homeland's on its final season, so we're finishing up that show. We're actually finding time somehow with having a 5.5-month-old to watch shows. I feel like we've been pretty good that way. We've done some puzzles. I've done some Lego. So yeah, we've done it all.
Yeah, we're almost done. Ozark is phenomenal. Tiger King still haven't made it through. It's crazy and weird. But it's interesting what you find yourself watching when you're just kind of scrolling through.
There's a rabbit hole for sure.
Oh, definitely. I'm curious, as far as like your fitness is concerned, just in normal times, regular years when you're traveling and not traveling, do you work with a fitness professional? What do your normal workouts look like on the road versus when maybe you are at home with a little bit of downtime?
Yeah, I work with Craig Davies. He has 8 players on tour, so he travels quite a bit, and I've been working with him really since I got on tour. Definitely on the road and at home is two kind of different programs, I would say. On the road, it's a lot of the same warm-up. We'll do hybrid workouts kind of on Tuesday and Wednesday, which will be my warm-up, and I'll add a little bit at the end, trying to maintain maintain like uh, if it's muscle or whatever, but just kind of maintain what we're doing because it's not on the road's not the time to try to bulk up or anything. Um, so that's every day, Tuesday through Sunday. When you're competing, Monday if I'm going to practice, but usually Monday's a day off. And the time where I'm,
Oh, we're kind of losing you here, Nick.
are you?
There we
You
go.
hear me?
You're back.
Um, so yeah, the fall is usually the only time that can really be a time for you can hit the gym. Right now would be a time, but right now we're so limited to what you've had at home, and that's just really I don't have a lot. A lot of it would be band work, body weight. I have a few free weights, but really very limited in that range. But yeah, the fall is definitely throwing on weight for the workouts and trying to put some muscle mass on, and then the years usually trying to maintain that. So that's kind of the differences between being at home and being on the road.
Is fitness something that you've always had as kind of an integral part of your training as a golfer? What other sport? I mean, did you play other sports growing up too, aside from just golf?
Yeah, I played up until I was 14. Probably I played a lot of sports. I played baseball probably the longest. High school sports, basketball, some volleyball. Played hockey for 6 or 7 years. So I bounced around and found golf. Fitness, once I played golf, fitness really wasn't a huge thing for me. I always rationalized as if I was going to spend an hour in the gym, I'd rather spend an hour on the golf course and improve that way. Um, so I always was kind of a shorter hitter, lag behind. I probably grew 2 or 3 inches in college, which really helped me gain a little bit of distance to get back up to pretty much average. But um, really, once I think the last, Tiger changed a lot for fitness and bringing athletes into the game. But I think it's even been shorter than that in the last 10 years, where everyone now, if you get on tour, there might be less than 10 people that aren't in at the gym and doing a warm up every single day, and really making fitness a priority. So I would say it's been the last 7 8 years that fitness has become a priority for what I'm doing, and it always hasn't been.
Speaking of pinnacle fitness, we got to talk a little bit about your buddy Adam Long, right? Uh, I'm curious. I'm curious with you and Adam. It's kind of interesting. Both of you guys won your tournaments, most recent tournaments, with a final round of Sunday with Phil Mickelson. Have you guys
Yeah,
had any banter back and forth about that at all?
yeah, a little bit. It's crazy that he did a little more dramatic fashion of birdie in the last hole, and yeah, pretty cool. But it's funny. We go back to we didn't really play much college golf together at all, and we went to Morocco to play this e-golf event back in the day. They had like a 2 tournament swing, and the winner of that Morocco tournament of the e-golf tournament got into the European Tour event, and we ended up playing together. I think it was the final round of the first event, and so we had a bus ride over, and we hadn't seen him much since. Maybe occasionally here or there, and so it's pretty funny going all the way back playing mini tour golf, and we both beat Phil Mickelson in the final group, final day. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, we've gotten closer, and they're expecting a baby here pretty soon. So things will change for them. But I think the downtime outside of it being a scary place around the hospital, I'm sure, but everything goes great, and it'll be nice to be home with their baby.
What do you miss most about not being on tour, not traveling, not being able to go out and compete?
I think competing is what I miss most. I think teeing it up Sunday with a chance to win, or even as much as it's not that fun, coming down Friday of trying to grind a cutout definitely gets your nerves going. I think that's honestly what the outside fan probably doesn't realize as much as is how your nerves get going when you're grinding trying to make a cut, let alone trying to win a tournament. Winning a tournament doesn't happen as often as you'd like, but unfortunately, grinding to make cuts happen a lot more than you would like to. So, um, the feeling if you birdie the last hole to make the cut, or you make a 6 footer for par to make the cut, like those are extremely gratifying, satisfying for a player. But those are stuff that you miss those putts that mean so much that you just uh, can't really emulate that at home. So the competitive part I miss. I miss a lot of the guys like Adam, Corey Connors, Mac Hughes, good buddies that we live all over the country, and but when we're on the road, it's a traveling circus, and we're good buddies, and we go dinner a lot together and play practice rounds together. So, you miss your golf family on the road and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for when it starts back up.
When you guys are playing together on, practice rounds and stuff like that, are you guys kind of a gambling bunch? You guys just kind of go out and hang bunch kind of a little bit, or is it pretty serious when you're actually playing your practice rounds?
We put some valuable time in, but usually we play a birdie game. It doesn't get out of control. It'd be $20 birdies, maybe $50 eagles. So if you have a bad day, you might lose a couple $100. So it's nothing crazy. We've upped the ante sometimes. That usually, keeps you interested. Might pay for dinner that night, and that's about it. But usually a lot of our work is definitely around the greens. Being my 6th year on tour, there's not really any different tee shots that happen or lines that I might need to refresh a line, but nothing really new for me anymore, fortunately. But it's around the greens that you put all your work in. You drop it in a bunker, you check this pin. That's the kind of all the work that you do. So we definitely take it seriously when we're doing that, but we like to have a good time too.
Cool. Well, Nick, before we let you go, I got a couple questions that I ask every guest that comes on the show for the first time. So ready to get some of the final questions out?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Happy Gilmore.
Oh, awesome. If you could play 18 holes of golf with anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be and where would you play?
I would play with Mo Norman, Ben Hogan, and I'd play Tiger Woods. Haven't played with him before, and I'd have to say Pebble Beach.
Nice. Mo Norman, I don't get that one very much.
Yeah.
Is he a Canadian guy?
I've never met him, but the stories I've heard, definitely was an interesting guy. I would love to have met him.
Yeah, it sounds like he was a robot off the tee box too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right, what's your walk-up song if you can pick a walk-up song to the first tee box?
So I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. So last year there's a walk-up song you can do for the Zurich team event. I picked the Imperial March. It's Darth Vader's song, but we made the kind of number and we teed off 10, and they didn't do the walk-up song there, so I was pretty bummed. But that was going to be my walk song. I think it'd be awesome, so that would be my walk-up song.
And then lastly, growing up, who were kind of your inspirational golfers that you looked up to and kind of really made you maybe want to get into the game, or you kind of wanted to emulate the way that they played or the demeanor they had on the course?
Tiger Woods I've always been a huge fan of Tiger Woods. It was really fun watching the 97 Masters that they replayed last week. That was kind of right when I was getting into golf. And then when Mike Weir won in 2003 the Masters, I feel like that was the final push of that's somebody I could emulate more. I couldn't relate to Tiger Woods' power and how he played the game. I loved watching him, but Mike Weir was someone that, someone a similar size could play that way. And that was a huge somewhere I could see, okay, if he can do it, I feel like I have a lot of similar attributes that I could. So those are two guys that I love watching growing up.
Cool. Nick, I can't thank you enough for your time coming on the show this morning. It's been great getting to meet you and get to know a little bit more about your story. We really look forward to you guys teaming it up again. Everybody's we're craving golf, we're craving sports, but can't wait to actually see, you heading down Magnolia Lane, going to the Masters. I know we're excited to watch. I can't imagine how excited you are to finally get there, but really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I want to thank you again for joining us on the 18 Strong live podcast here with Nick Taylor. If you want any more information on 18 Strong, you need help with any of your training programs, just go over to 18strong.com and you can check out all of our programs over there. I also want to say thank you to our sponsors for this week and every week's episode, Link Soul, the apparel choice that we wear here all the time. We wear it in the gym, we wear it on the course, and we wear it pretty much everywhere. So don't forget that you can win free Link Soul apparel by going to the 18 Strong podcast on iTunes and leaving a rating and review. And once again, I thank you for joining us. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.